So nobody online heard what I said. Okay, let's start again. Jaya Radha Madhava. The verse, Sati continued, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill him, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender, and after that, one should give up one's own life. Purport. The argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. So an authority is a representative of the ocean of mercy that is Sri Krishna himself. Only by devotional service can one get out of this hellish nightmare of repeated birth, death, disease, and old age. So Krishna's system is that he sends bona fide, qualified persons. Spiritual master is invested with the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We say every day, Shakshat Ritme Nastamasta Shastriya. The spiritual master should be respected as good as Hari. Why? Because he is the most confidential representative of Krishna, Shri Hari, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, Brahma, who is the third link in our Sampradaya. Narada. The name Narada Muni, the literal definition is one who can hand the Lord to you as a commodity, just like you go in the store, I want that, given to you. So, and meeting a bona fide spiritual master is very rare. An example is given of a sea tortoise in the ocean. They live in the ocean. Like we're in the ocean of material birth and death. How often do we see someone even question, is there a way out of this labyrinth? And even when they do question, they're apt to be cheated or get involved in something because the motivations, material desires are there, motivations are mixed. So the spiritual master is also sadhu. Sadhu means to cut away the material attachment. The Bhaktisiddhanta tells a story of a boy who was suffering from a terrible boil. And it was just oozing pus. It was becoming infected. It was a very dangerous situation. What to do? So the friends and relatives, they were blowing on the boil. They made some kind of concocted idea. Nothing worked. But then the boy's father decided, I'm going to call the appropriate surgeon and we'll have a minor operation and cut the boil out. And all the relatives protested. And finally the boy was like, when the doctor came, you're going to kill me. This is terrible. Why don't you take the knife on your own son, get out of here, And then, but the father insisted and pressed chloroform onto the boy's mouth and, performed the operation. Maybe there was a little pain in the wound for a day or so, but after suffering for weeks and months, within 2 or 3 days, he was completely healthy again. So we don't like to hear the cutting words from the spiritual master to cut away our material attachments. This is Maya. Maya, first we're thrown into illusion, and then we're covered to think that illusion is very nice. When people are sent to prison for years, decades, lifetime in prison, do you ever hear of anybody trying to break into a prison? I want to be in this prison. We always hear about prison breaks, people trying to escape. He made it glorious, even though he's like a wanton criminal. Bravo. But this material world is such, it's a prison. Nobody wants to leave. How amazing. So the spiritual master, he's empowered to cut through that covering potency and not only make us question our actual reality, but even more, instill with us or uncover our original desire to want the greatest thing. The definition of the 10th canto, the summum bonum. Reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. We say, he who gave me eyes to see is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. And what happens when that prema emanates? Ignorance is destroyed. So, vinashyati, destruction. So in Kali Yuga, we destroy the ignorance. I believe it's in the Mahabharata. Correct me if I'm wrong. In Satya Yuga, which is when this story took place, the demons and the devotees were situated on different planets. Imagine this entire planet was just devotees. And the demoniac planet, of course, in those days, people were by far more advanced than the doleful denizens of this Kali Yuga so proudly think themselves to be advanced. Like even they marvel, how could they build like these amazing architectural triumphs? What to speak of thousands of years ago, even in medieval times. They just recommemorated the Church of Notre Dame, or we have St. Patrick's Cathedral here. And could they make such a thing today? In the Treta Yuga, as we see in the case of Lord Ramachandra and the demon Ravana, they lived in different countries. We see that one country fights another, you know. Then the Kauravas and the Pandavas, my dear Krishna, I don't want to kill my cousin brothers. No, you have to fight. They lived in the same family. In fratricidal war. But in Kali Yuga, they live together in the same body. We have good qualities, we have bad qualities. We try to see the good, but at the same time, we don't lose our critical thinking, especially if one is in a position, as the spiritual master is, to point out the faults, because of constructive criticism. Why? This fault is impeding your advancement, and it's ultimately blocking you from achieving the ultimate goal of life, which will be the perfection of all happiness for you. So out of concern for you, not for my own self-aggrandizement, and it is quite the risk to give the proper instruction, the proper direction, especially in this day and age. People don't want to hear it. So this is interesting. But by the same argument, one who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. But by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself, right? Like we defend ourselves. Well, you're saying this and that about me, but really the real thing is that this one is like that and like this, and it seems like a very plausible argument. And unless one is actually in a proper position to ascertain what is the truth, a proper judge, then no ultimate conclusion will be reached. Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures and one of the greatest officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him. So even though I'm offending others, I'm offending Lord Shiva, because I have this high position, you should overlook all of these bad things and just respect me. The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying, but defending. And then instructions that are not to be followed literally in this day and age. We were discussing with Jayadvaita Maharaj in the class of Lord Chaitanya wanting to kill the offenders, Jagai and Madai, because they physically injured Lord Nityananda, and Lord Nityananda himself asking for clemency, for forgiveness for them, and stating that if you kill them, you have to kill everyone, because everyone is like Jagai and Madai in this age. So Lord Chaitanya, he's come completely as Krishna always does to kill the demons and save the devotees, paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya duskritam. But because again, in Kali Yuga, the demon and the devotee live in the same heart. They live in different countries, different planets. We can have all kinds of weapons, and they can be whatever. But how are you going to kill? You have to be an expert heart surgeon, right? To get out the cancer and separate it from the healthy, beating, loving heart. That is Lord Chaitanya. If possible, she should have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. In other words, since Lord Shiva is the protector of religion, a person who vilifies him should be killed at once. And after killing such a person, one should give up one's life. So we were hearing with Maharaj in one of the classes that we don't want to waste time getting into useless arguments, trying to defeat atheistic and blasphemous things, that people who want to get into a challenging argument with us, because not only will they not accept it, but it actually feeds their fire. If one gives nice milk and bananas to a venomous snake, you're not going to make friends with the snake like you see like a dog or any kind of other domestic animal. They become your friend. Oh, this man is feeding me. This is very nice. But the snake will take that kind gesture and use it to increase their venom to attack the very person, biting the hand that feeds you. So if you just ignore them and just not even pay attention to them, that's just as good, if not better, than killing them. You've killed the exchange is done. Forgiveness granted, access denied. And we see practically, we're going out in the public, and we have the wonderful First Amendment to the United States of America. I was just hearing Prabhupada lecturing in Los Angeles in 1972. I'm saying, this is such a nice country. They're not shooting you. And he was mentioning communist China and Russia at the time, what they could do to you, back then. Actually, he had ordered Tamal Krishna Maharaj to go to China in 1976. But then later, when Prabhupada was informed more of the actual conditions there, he stopped him. No, you don't go now. Of course, he went later, and the rest is glorious history. So, So with freedom of speech and religion, so we can chant Hare Krishna, we can distribute our books, and it's very clear with the secular authorities that we're not vendors, we're not musicians, we're not selling anything for profit. In fact, the Prabhupada incorporated ISKCON here in New York City in the very same document and charter we're having today. But the caveat, or the, let's say, going along with it, like sometimes persons purporting that they are strict and adherent followers of, okay, I'll say who, Lord Jesus Christ, Merry Christmas. They come upon us, and unlike actual sincere persons who are in touch with God through their own religious path, you're all going to hell, you're the devil, this, that, the other thing. And sometimes it gets to be such a disturbance that we need to call the police. But the police have been instructed, and this is what they say. You have a right to your freedom of speech, and they have a right to their freedom of speech. So, well, look, they're like, like inciting, they're getting people angry. Unless they touch you, unless there's any type of physical contact, we can't do anything. This is Kali Yuga. So in that way, we are relying on Krishna and Super Soul in the heart to ultimately, what happens is they get tired, they get it all out, and ultimately they go away. And especially in a place like New York, which is so pluralistic and so kind of, I don't know if you can think of the words, that type of activity which could be, accepted by the people in general or even sympathized with in more provincial is the word, or rural places. It's just not cool here in New York City. So just chanting Hare Krishna without any um, proselytizing or condemning people because you're not chanting Hare Krishna, you're going to hell. People can see the difference between that and other so-called ways of preaching. And the Krishna consciousness movement, Lord Chaitanya's movement, is greatly appreciated. So we're describing Lord Chaitanya, and there's many places in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes where you can see how he dealt with people who are offenders. They were overly proud, and they didn't have a proper conception of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and of his devotees. So there's a very nice chapter about the Lord's meeting with Vallabhacharya in the Antya Lila of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'd like to present some things here in regards to this discussion. Uh, so Vallabhacharya, the talks between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy have become very, very famous. We see how Pradyumna Mishra went to Lord Chaitanya and wanted to hear these topics, and Lord Chaitanya instructed that actually Ramananda Roy is my instructor, and I hear these topics from him. So again, in the case of Vallabhacharya, he comes and he glorifies Lord Chaitanya in the beginning of meeting him, and he speaks the very wonderful verse, Kali Kaler Dharm Krishna Nam Sankirtan. This is Adi Leela, chapter 7, verse 11. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. You have spread the Sankirtan movement of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, it is evident that you have been empowered by Lord Krishna. There is no question about it. You have manifested the holy name of Krishna throughout the entire world. Anyone who sees you is immediately absorbed in ecstatic love of Krishna. Without being especially empowered by Krishna, one cannot manifest ecstatic love of Krishna, for Krishna is the only one who gives ecstatic love. That is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. So Lord Chaitanya, even so, we approach the spiritual master, we approach the Lord, the deity directly, but we don't understand or can perceive the glories of the devotees in general, or what to speak of devotees who are actually highly qualified. So the Lord told Vallabhabhata, "You are a learned scholar. Kindly listen to me. I am a sannyasi of the Mayavad school. Therefore, I have no chance of knowing what Krishna Bhakti is. Nevertheless, my mind has become purified because I have associated with Advaita Acharya, who is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is unparalleled in his understanding of all the revealed scriptures and the devotional service of Lord Krishna. Therefore, he is called Advaita Acharya. He is such a great personality that by his mercy he can convert even the meat eaters, malechas, to devotional service of Krishna. Who therefore can estimate the power of his Vaishnavism? Prabhupada affirms it is extremely difficult to convert a meat eater into a devotee. Therefore, anyone who can do so is situated on the highest level of Vaishnavism. Lord Nityananda Prabhu, the Avaduta, is also directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is always intoxicated with the madness of ecstatic love. Indeed, he is the ocean of love of Krishna. He goes on to glorify Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Ramananda Roy is the ultimate knower of the transcendental mellows of Lord Krishna's devotional service. He has instructed me that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And through him, I have understood that ecstatic love of Krishna is the highest goal of life, and that spontaneous love of Krishna is the highest perfection. And then Lord Chaitanya gives an even more detailed description of the glories of Krishna's relationships with his pure devotees in Vrindavan, which he had heard from the mouth of Ramananda Roy. It is impossible, verse 37, to describe the influence and knowledge of Ramananda Roy, for only by his mercy have I understood the unalloyed love of the residents of Vrindavan. Haridas Thakur is the teacher of the holy name. He is the most exalted of all pure devotees. Every day he chants 300,000 holy names of the Lord. From him I have learned the glories of the holy name, and by his mercy I have understood these glories. Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Gadadhar Pandit, Jagadananda, Damodar, Sankar, Vakeshvar, Kashivar, Mukunda, Vasudev, Murari, and many other devotees have descended in Bengal to preach to everyone the glories of the holy name of Krishna and the value of love for him. I have learned from them the meaning of devotional service to Krishna. Knowing that Vallabhabhata's heart was full of pride, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke these words, hinting at how one can learn about devotional service. Vallabhabhata was greatly proud of his knowledge in devotional service. Therefore, he wanted to speak about Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without understanding the Lord's position. Then later we see in this chapter that he had how should we say, written or concocted his own explanation of Śrimad Bhāgavatam, and he discounted the authority of the original commentator on the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Sridhar Swami. And by that, Lord Chaitanya simply rejected, I will not hear your explanation. And the Lord therefore hinted in many ways that if Vallabhabhata wanted to know what devotional service actually is, he would have to learn from all the devotees. If one wants to learn the real meaning of Śrimad Bhāgavatam, one must take lessons from a realized soul. One should not proudly think that one can understand the transcendental loving service of the Lord simply by reading books. One must become a servant of a Vaishnava. One must accept the Vaishnava spiritual master, and then by questions and answers and service, one should gradually learn what pure devotional service to Krishna is. That is called the Parampara system. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? William, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, good morning. Is it too loud? So I just wanted to share that I'm very, very grateful, actually, for Lord Shiva, for Krishna. One day I was walking the neighborhood back on Avenue D, and I came to Lord Krishna consciousness through Lord Shiva and Lord Ganesha. And that's the way I came to Lord Krishna. It was through Lord Shiva and Lord Ganesha, because I had no idea who he was, no idea who Ganesha was. I was just traveling, and I walked into a temple, smelled the incense, and they told me, yeah, this deity here, this is Lord Shiva. And this deity here, this is Lord Ganesha. So I'm very grateful actually to be here. When you said the story of Lord Shiva, it reminded me of it. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's very nice. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for class. I'm reminded. Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Just speak loud in your own voice with the
Okay.
microphone away.
I'm reminded of when we go to Atlantic Avenue for Harinam Sankirtan. There's often around the corner. There's often a personality screaming and yelling as his method of preaching at people, screaming that they'll go to hell if they don't follow Jesus Christ's teachings. It's interesting to observe that and then see how people usually have two different reactions. I've noticed they're either more turned away from any kind of religion or religiosity, or when they see us after passing him, they're actually more favorable towards us, because they see that, oh, we're actually peaceful, we're propagating this this message that's
Right.
more what's the word?
More nice.
Yeah, it's a way
Actually,
to give.
another good example is Ramachandra Puri criticizing Lord Chaitanya, and that Madhavendra Puri, he manifested for all our edification the example of Ishvara Puri, who humbly served him, helping him in his old age to remember Krishna, and the same godbrother or disciple, Ramachandra Puri, and coming and criticizing him. And what later happened to both of them as time went on, Ishvara Puri became an ocean of transcendental mercy, became such an exalted personality that he was allowed to perform the service of being the spiritual master for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whereas Ramachandra Puri became a fault finder and criticizer of everyone else, and his heart was dry as a bone. So the example for all of us to look at, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. So you can yell and scream like a madman based on some foolish concoction which has no substantial basis in any shastra, any truly revealed scripture. Or you could be, as we are humbly trying to do, the right thing by representing the actual authority. And what is the difference? Okay.
And thank you. Will that also help the people who, will that also help the people who are turned off from religiosity, from seeing that? Like, how do we...
Imperceptible auspiciousness is that one need not make any intellectual adjustment. It is springs automatically from the spiritual platform. So the more that we serve Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, the more we'll understand the Shreyasi, Shreya Karaiva Chandrika Vitarana, the ultimate long-term benefit. What we perceive to be their reaction, most of these people are just so stressed out. They're running, they're living paycheck to paycheck, and let me just get the heck out of this subway as quick as I can. They got their headphones on, and you can't really judge the reaction. Don't try to read into it. If you do, then you'll be just so confused and demoralized. That's why we see through the eyes of the Shastra. And it is predicted that this will become the predominant Dharma on this planet, Lord Chaitanya's Kali Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All goes to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai.